had to run to the car. There are plenty of times where I had my pepper spray out, but I couldn't pepper spray him because it was something that would stop me, because I cared about him and I did love him, and no matter what he did to me, I couldn't hurt him like that. I couldn't hurt him back. So I would always hold my pepper spray and I wouldn't do anything. It was very difficult. So I would be trapped.
You can give me everything in the world, but materials don't matter if you're abusing me. And so I stayed because of those resources that he had. And once I was able to get on my own feet and realize that I can create these resources for myself, I just needed to have a better support system and really believe in myself. That really pushed me and inspired me to just continue to move on and leave him alone.
He would do something where he would end up crying, and like I would, he'd be like, everyone's left me, don't leave me, because he had a pretty rough childhood. And so that created in me a fear of like, if I leave him, I will be like everybody else who's left him.
Some of the barriers that I faced were, there was some truth to what he was saying. I did not know my family in Texas. I was new to them. I surely did not have a rapport with anyone to where I could stay with them. There was also this confidence in me of saying the house that we were in was mine. So why should I leave? No, you should leave. This is my house. When I finally did leave, I went to my ex-husband's family and I hid there.
It was hard to leave. As a single mom, there was a stigma of how people perceive you as a single mother.
Barriers to leaving were definitely that I had a drinking issue, and I wasn't aware of it at the time. And it wasn't until I got sober and that's when I cut off contact with him. I officially got cut off contact. But also because of the fact that it was the obsession of he can change, and that if I hung around long enough, like he would. I didn't want him to change for the next girl. That was going to make me upset. So I have to stay around because he could change.
I had a lot of hope. I had a lot of hope that he would change. I had a lot of hope that, he would get his life together and really become the man that I needed him to be, or maybe that society needed him to be for me. I had all the faith in the world that if I just stayed, that I can convince him that, it's worth the change and that he could make that change. And I had to realize that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink the water.
Financially, he had put me in a financial situation that was, it was unforeseen, but my savings that I had for my escape was spent on bills and trying to buy the home and so forth and so on. So financially, I was not in a good situation. So the way that I got out was nothing short of a miracle. I came here with nothing. And it was through support of strangers that I made it across country safely.
After that, I decided no, I have to leave. This at this point was the 5th time me trying to leave, 5th and final time. I decided that, I'm gonna cut off all communication, just leave me alone. I can't have you be in my life anymore. That was hard because I did love him, and I do believe that I was in love with him. And when you're in love with someone, it's really hard to let them go regardless of the situation.
I left probably about 18 to 20 times.
Yeah. I think a man might stay in a relationship that isn't the most healthy because there are a lot of options for men. Some resources like shelters are only available towards women. And so since there aren't readily available resources for men, such as shelters, they might not seek out help, and they may not admit that they're within a dating violence relationship.
I know from personal experience with my mom and my stepdad, one of the problems is that financial issues, like if my mom had left, maybe she didn't have the means to support me, the housing we didn't have, that was all under my stepdad's name. So by going to court, my mom was afraid that he could end up getting custody over me because she didn't have the means for housing and finance to raise me like other families do.
Someone might stay out of comfort and possibly fear of not knowing what will happen if they leave.
Just like any other survivor, members of the LGBTQ+ community would stay in an abusive relationship because they are afraid of being outed to colleagues at work, to friends, to family. There's this fear that they won't have any social support based on being told that they are no longer part of the community if they leave an abusive relationship. And a sense of community means everything to our community, so this fear of losing that is really scary, and it's really important to us, especially we don't have any ties to our biological families, so that's really important to us. Another perception is that social service agencies that provide services to survivors of domestic violence aren't necessarily geared towards us, and so that's difficult to want to reach out to help because there's this lack of resources for us, and also the invisibility of domestic violence in the community is very minimal. So we're led to believe that it doesn't happen to us.
Well, what I saw with my mom when she was dating her boyfriend is that she didn't have any place to go. He cut her off from her friends and family. She wasn't allowed to have a job or a car. So even if she were to want to get out, she didn't have any kind of money to support herself or a place to stay. He isolated her.
Well, someone might stay in an abusive relationship because they might be confused. They might not know what abuse looks or feels like, or they might just come from an abusive family where they can't identify what abuse looks like.